All right, folks. So welcome back to HPTV, where we help people thrive. We got another special guest in studio today. This guy has been somewhat of a mentor of mine in the social media space. I look at what this guy's doing out there, and I admire it. He's done a lot of work to help hone his craft, whether it be in the social media space and branding, or in the real estate investing sector, or in business in general. You're really like just the jack of all trades, but you do it all really well, man. And I admire you for that. So I'm really excited to have you here. Andy, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, brother. Thanks for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So how's life treating you out? You're in Long Beach these days, and how's things going out there?
Things are great, man. Yeah. I've got zero complaints. Things are super good. Life is good. Family's good.
Yeah.
Real estate market's good.
Talk to me about a little bit about that, because the real estate markets, I mean, I don't know a lot about it, and maybe some of our listeners are in the transition of considering whether to sell or move or buy or something. What is that market looking like right now? Like,
sure. So we're at the top of a 10-year cycle.
Okay.
Everybody always freaks out, like, ooh, there's a recession coming in the stock market, and there's all these trade and tariff wars going on right now with China, and there's this and there's that, and there's stuff going on in London with Brexit. I pay attention to the global market and the global economy because it dramatically affects my business.
Okay.
But I also don't care. Like, I don't care who's president. I don't care if the real estate market really is going up or down.
Okay.
I've got a very simple formula, and that's it. Like, I just need to know the rules and how to be able to maneuver within those rules.
Okay.
So I buy heavily when the market's going up, and I buy even more when the market's going down.
Okay.
So it's all your perspective and what your strategies are for yourself, for your family, and for your investors. Like, I tell a lot of my clients right now, we should probably move you into a cash position if we can't exchange your property, and because the market's starting to shift right now, it's starting to dip. As of the data that we got around November of 2018, that was kind of the top. Like, that's where it's been teetering ever since, and we're starting to see a lot of properties sit on market for 3 times as long as they have in the past 6 years. They're taking 2 and 3 price reductions to actually hit the metrics to get the property or the particular asset sold. Which is fine as long as you know what's going on,
right,
and you can advise people correctly. But everybody freaks out and freezes when the market starts to drop, which is, keep doing that if you're listening to this. Freak out and freeze so I can come in and scoop everything.
Right, yeah.
So I don't like this market. I don't like when the market is going up really quickly. It's great for the properties that I own. That's awesome. I make a bunch of money on paper. I would rather have a normalized market because it benefits everyone, not just the investors.
Right. So, you have a lot of expertise in this field, and you've got your core clients. Now let's shift a little bit, because we're talking about the real estate market, and we got a lot of people that probably are in the real estate game. You talk about not caring so much what the market's doing out there, but you've figured out strategies probably in each of the scenarios that can happen out there. You've been in this business long enough. We talked about it. You've practically been in business since you've been 12. You're an entrepreneur through and through. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about how, because I talk a lot about how your circumstances don't define you in life. You can power through anything. Now let's talk about this in this sector, in business. You don't allow the circumstances of the marketplace globally or economically here in the States to dictate how you're going to do, or to dictate whether or not you're going to be successful in business. You just tweak your model a little bit. Talk about what that looks like for you, and how you discover that.
Sure, and I would love to add a whole bunch of value to your entire audience. So I'm going to get very strategic with everybody. And here's just a little bit of a backstory about me. I was raised super poor.
Okay.
I had nothing. Okay. Like, I was raised by a single mom, me and my brother. We lived in a studio apartment on, like, the quote unquote wrong side of Long Beach, and we lived out of a cooler. So I was like, I didn't have all this cool shit I have now. I had nada. So I was always been a hard worker, and with that kind of upbringing, you find opportunities, or you become a victim of your circumstance. So I was always hunting for the opportunity. And I still do the same thing to this day, and I'm 42. So in this country, if you're currently renting, that is a choice. You might not know it's a choice, but I'm going to hopefully be able to walk you through some steps to kind of get your head around where those opportunities lie for you, because they're everywhere.
Okay.
So most people don't understand that we have this thing called 3.5% FHA financing in this country.
Okay.
So it's the same if you want to buy a condo, a townhouse, a house, or a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. The same financing principles apply. It's residential lending law.
Okay.
When I was 30 years old, I was in this huge meeting with a bunch of lenders, and somebody was talking about this. I literally stopped the whole meeting. I was like, time out, wait a minute. I can put down $24,000 on a $700,000 fourplex, live in one of the units, rent out the other 3 units to almost cover the whole mortgage, and that's totally legal. Like,
yeah.
Absolutely. It's been going on for like 50 years. I'm like, what? Why isn't everybody doing this? Why would anybody buy a house then first, or a condo first? It's like, I don't know. No one's talking about it. That's when I started the journey to write the book, The 100 Doors.
Yes.
And the first door you should buy should not be a house or should not be a condo. And here's why.
Okay.
If you do this duplex, triplex, or fourplex concept, I don't care if you have a 510 FICO score and you have no money and you're in debt. Put a 5-year plan together to save $300 a month. Find somebody to fix your credit for $1,000. Do the things necessary over the next 24 months to get your credit where it needs to be. And then if you still need to save, keep saving. Doesn't matter. At some point, you're going to have 10,000, 20,000. And I'm talking about like to buy something in Southern California, one of the most expensive markets in the country. You can buy a $35,000 duplex in Cleveland tomorrow, if that's where you're from. So there's so many options people just don't understand that's possible. So once you've done that, and you live in one of the units because you have to occupy it for 1 year. It's part of the program. So you live in one of the units for 1 year and 1 day. You can suck out some of the equity and then put $100,000 now down that particular asset just gave you. And now you buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for the family. So now you have a 2, 3, or 4 unit property and you have a house. If that's the only thing you did for your entire life, you bought an income property and 1 house, you would be perfectly fine whenever you decided to retire. They would both be free and clear, even if you're 45, 50 years old and you're starting this process.
Really?
Doesn't matter. So when you're 65, you have like 70% of your asset paid off because of your tenants. Like, we don't think about these kind of things. We think about good debt and bad debt. There's bad leverage and there's good leverage. A really good piece of real estate is great leverage. Massive amounts of credit card debt is bad leverage. But we all have to go through it. Trust me, I'm not sitting here on my high horse. I've got my face punched in my 20s with all kinds of credit drama. But you fix it.
Yeah. You live and you learn.
You learn.
Yeah, you learn from. We talked about this a little bit before the show started about learning from your lessons. You were talking about how many times in this career of yours over the past 20 some odd years, how many times you actually failed. Talk about that a little bit.
For sure, more than I've won. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing with me is I do this thing called course correcting, which you know very well.
Yeah.
I don't stop. Like, trust me, I get really bummed out, especially if it's a gigantic financial loss. What am I going to do? Sit at home and cry?
Right.
I get bummed. I go for a long drive on the beach. I walk through my process of where I messed up, because it's always my fault. I hired the wrong person. You know, there was some stuff going on in the books I knew was probably happening, but didn't want to have that conversation with that person until it was too late. These are all lessons you have to go through as a business owner and as a person. I go through it as a dad, as a husband. Like, all this stuff is all woven together. And a big thing for me with real estate is it's this big security blanket. Yes, it goes up and down, and you might have a ton of equity on paper, but when I'm in charge of that and no one can come to my house and say, hey, here's a 60-day notice, we're going to sell the property and you have to move. Like, I hated the way that felt. So that's why a big reason why I got into real estate. But there's a lot of options and you're going to fail. You got to get really good at it.
You got to get really good at failing. The better you are at failing, the faster. I don't learn anything from my wins. I learn it feels good. I learned 0 lessons. The tiny stumble in business, I learn a massive lesson from. Yeah.
I fall on my face, I learn massive lessons. You don't learn shit from winning.
Because you keep trying, you're like, okay, that once, so let's just do that. But when you lose, or when you fail at something, or you find something that you're falling behind on, like you have to jump on it, find out why. So one of my biggest things that I preach out there or talk about is don't wait till it's too late. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to. Sometimes we have to learn those lessons and the failures. But people are so quick to sweep up the failures and cover them up so that it doesn't make them look stupid or whatever. But at the end of the day, like you said, the more failures you have and the sooner you have them and you dive into why and figure out those things, like you learn so much more. And then you can look back down, now that you're a 42-year-old man, got many successful businesses, you look back at all those failures of businesses that you lost a lot of money on. You're like, okay, I learned from that. And now you've got your strategies in place where you can actually sit here and nod with confidence and swagger that you're not worried about a circumstance, an employee that doesn't get their projects done on time or stuff like that, because you've got your systems in place based on the lessons you learned from all your failures, right?
100%. And all of the things I've done through my whole life, it could all go to zero tomorrow. I hope it doesn't. But if it did, you can't take my tools from my head.
Right.
Like, I went all in on marketing and branding because I didn't understand it.
Right.
And I was always paying a ton for it. So I went all in to learn. Nobody can ever take that from me now.
Right.
I know how to brand and market a business, a product, a person about as good as anybody else out there.
Yeah.
I understand the game. And the game is always changing. So now I'm very much a practitioner of the game. And it's fun, and it's hard, and it's annoying, and it's frustrating. And some days are awesome, and some days I literally want to punch myself in the face.
Yeah.
If that's not for you, just go work for somebody.
Right. Yeah. It's not all that it cracks up to be, to have a show like this. You have a successful podcast. You just shared with me, you've been on many very big podcasts, as a matter of fact. And everybody always looks at it like, oh, I wish I had that life. It's so easy. But we're just laughing about how much hard work it is behind the scenes, pounding your head against the desk of trying to figure out different technologies and stuff like that. So I want to take this opportunity to kind of like segue into that personal branding in the social media space that you are very well aware of. And, I'm entering into this marketplace. I've been doing it for a couple years now, and I'm still learning a ton from watching you and bunch of your counterparts out there in the social media world. Let's talk about personal branding and what that looks like and what it takes to create a personal brand. Because it's not just something that all of a sudden you pop up and it's like, oh, I'm this dude with a logo and this and that and the other. Like, this takes consistent effort, a lot of losses, a lot of failures, a lot of people telling you, no, that's not going to work. But what does it take to build that personal brand, do you think, Andy?
It takes resiliency, because you're going to suck in the beginning. You're going to be just terrible at it.
Right.
I was absolutely awful. Did not like being in front of the camera. I knew at some point I would get better, so I just kept doing it. But if you go back and watch some of my first YouTube episodes, they're painful.
Yeah.
And they're just not good. I wasn't good. I was trying to find, my zone, and I was putting out stuff that was like, it was positive. I'm putting out stuff that's like to help people and motivate people. All my friends thought I was insane, stopped following me. All my family thought I was nuts, so stopped following me on social media. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to help people. They still thought I was insane. So there's this thing that once you decide to do this, and this works across every aspect of your life, business, health, relationships, it does not matter. When you can mix discipline and consistency, you're gonna win. I don't care if you're a professional athlete, if you're a stockbroker, if you're an accountant, or if you're a YouTuber. Consistency will always win, and discipline will always win. So for me, I had to tell myself, once I turn the cameras on, I'm never turning them off.
It's deep.
I had to make that commitment, because I knew if I gave myself an out, I would find it. So I had to put that responsibility on the back of my children. Like, I put out content every day, because if I get hit by a bus when I leave here, my kids will have 3 full years of content to be able to watch from me. Before that, my kids are 4 and 6 when this was recorded. They would have known me at all. They would know zero. Yeah. They would have known me at all. They had a couple cool pictures and some stories from my family. I feel a massive calling to share that message with everybody that'll listen. Every time I'm on stage, I don't care if I'm literally talking at this dry, multi-family real estate investors in front of a bunch of nerds. And I'm like, if you're not putting out content, you're stealing from your family. Like, I go hard in this topic because it creates a digital legacy that'll live on forever.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing right now, my kids' great grandkids will listen to.
Right. Isn't that cool?
Yes, it's the best.
Right.
I always get goosebumps even
I'm
talking
getting
about it.
goosebumps thinking about it too. You know, it's something that I think about often with my situation with the whole cancer battle and all that. And when I decided to do this, that was a big playing part of my life. Like, I want to be able to just share everything that's coming out of this crazy mind of mine right now and try and help people. Like, that's my main mission, is to take this, whatever this is right now, amplify it to help as many people as I can. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens to me, I know that my daughter has now 2 years worth, and I'm hoping many years to go, of just content of good stuff to understand what a man looks like to marry, what businessmen look like, what you know, and all this other stuff to give her tools that she needs for life, and it's so powerful. Let's dive in a little bit more to, like, because what I want to talk about really is that personal brand and being able to step outside the market. We talked about a little bit about what it takes to build it. Now let's talk about like what it takes to really market it. We got a lot of people out there that are looking at people like yourself that are finding success through social media, and then they're trying to do it themselves, and it's like they're not getting engagement, this and that. What is the secret? Is there a secret to getting that engagement that you're looking for to build that personal brand? Whether you're a real estate agent or somebody trying to inspire people to change their lives, what does that look like?
Sure. So here's the biggest secret in all of social media. I'll just give it to your whole audience.
Okay.
If you want engagement, you have to engage. Like,
pretty simple, but
do you know how many people that have these big followings that do not reply to one comment? They don't reply to DMs. They don't go into these feeds of other people and comment on other people's comments. You want engagement? Engage. It's very, very simple.
So let's talk about that concept. I've heard about it from another guy that's out there in the world. Mr. Gary V talks about going into other people's posts and not to to troll them, which there's a lot of those people out there that troll and try and shoot people down.
I'm the exact opposite of a troll. I go into other people's feeds that don't reply to their audience's comments, and guess who answers all their questions?
You do.
I do. And they're like, who is this Dane Carter character? They click my link that hyperlinks them right to my page. In 3 seconds, they're either going to follow me or they're not. Usually they go to my stories.
Yeah.
When I started Instagram stories, I had like 17 to 100 people.
Okay.
Now every story that I post is between 8,000 and 15,000 views per story. Those are real live people that most of my engagement comes from my Instagram stories. I barely even pay attention to my feed because my team takes care of the posts. I comment and I reply to every comment. I reply to almost every single DM. I get almost 100 to 200 a day. I do video, I do audio, like things while I'm driving to respond to them. I take this really serious. I treat this like a business because it's a business tool. Yeah. So here's a very simple hack. Instagram is free. Facebook is free. YouTube is free. LinkedIn is free unless you're going to get the Premiere. But right now, the attention of the world is on Instagram.
Yep.
So Instagram really likes it when you post 5 to 10 to 20 stories a day. They help with your feed place higher, but the most important part is how we consume social media right now is through stories. Like,
it's true.
People will, if they like you, they're going to go to your stories and have a little look-see first before they follow you. If your stories suck and there's no engagement there, then, that's what you're going to get. But this is a slow process. Like, this is not 2012 when Instagram, is very young. There's a lot of, they've got over 1 billion daily users.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. Like, you have to provide value. My entire thing shifted when I started posting my whole day. I post what I'm thinking about in the morning. I post some stuff about the news. I post about the stuff I'm eating in the morning and my workouts, my time with my kids. And then I post about every 30 minutes for the rest of the day. What am I doing? Am I here on a podcast? Am I doing real estate? Am I giving a talk somewhere? My Instagram stories are my daily vlog.
Yeah. Right.
And that's where I go to engage with other people. Like, I built my entire podcast off of the Instagram DM.
That's insane.
Free.
Yeah.
For free, just free, all free.
So that's where you were advertising your podcast, and this is what I'm doing here, and so that's got your attention, and they were probably going over to YouTube, subscribing to your channel now, but it's in your stories that, because again, you got however many followers you have. If you're not putting it out there and showing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, they're not getting to know who you are. Like, this is what social media is all about. It's been a gift to us. That's also a huge curse.
You got to be social on social media.
Yeah. And social in a good way. Again, you talk about providing value. We talk about the content that you're putting out there. We got so many people that out there in social media world that are using this to throw divide and hate and racism and all these different things that just throw a negative cloud over the social media experience. Mm-hmm. And then you got guys like yourself or myself that are using this to try and inspire people to change their lives or to make better decisions with their investments, whatever that looks like, and creating value. And then following up with that value. And people need to understand this is a tool. This isn't just a hobby. This isn't a social experiment. Like, this is where the world is now. And if you're not learning to utilize these social media platforms to boost your brand, to boost your business, to boost your relationships or whatever that is, like, you're missing the point.
I wish I'd have started this whole thing with a quote unquote personal brand 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I would have done anything for it. Like, this is the kind of currency that you can't get unless you put in the time and effort. This is the only industry I've ever been in where I couldn't buy my way in. Mm-hmm. You just have to put in the work. Yeah. And it's every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. We spend over $10,000 a month just doing our free YouTube channel. Like, this is all, it's business. Yeah. It's to help. We put out free content to help people. Mm-hmm. Like, so when you think about real estate, I want you to think about me. When you think about podcasting, I want you to think about me. So we push this stuff out really hard because we're trying to help. Mm-hmm. I don't sell that many things online. Like, 99% of my stuff is free. Mm-hmm. You can go and just log in and absorb it and get all the goods. But a personal brand is just your digital business card. A personal brand is your digital identity. If you're a good person, why wouldn't you do this?
Right.
If you're a scumbag, you're going to get exposed at some point, but the internet's full of them. So for me, it's like, how do I combat the noise that we were talking about earlier of all the hate and the shysters and the scammers with the truth?
Right.
And the only way is to be louder.
And consistent and disciplined.
Exactly.
You know, I've had a few guests on this show, and we talk about different things. You know, I've had a Hall of Fame NFL player. I've also had another guy that played in the NBA, and a couple. You know, my partner in cannabis. And the common denominator in the success of all the people that I've sat down with, I hear the words consistency and discipline. And it's just the fact that you just can't give up on what you believe to be right, and you'll know it's right when the audience is speaking back to you. So, like, for instance, if you're putting a personal brand out there, you're putting something out there in the world, and it's not being received, or it's not, like, you might have to change something. You might have to change your approach. You might have to change a little bit. But once it starts coming back that you're on that, hey, you're making a difference in my life. Hey, Andy, thank you for what you've done. Like, that really helped me make a decision on what I want to do now for my investment strategy or for my personal brand. You're onto something, and then it just fuels the thing.
It's the greatest feeling there is. I would much rather have 300 DMs of people that, like, thank you so much for helping me do this or that or whatever, than have some huge check from some giant closing in real estate. Mm-hmm. Money's great. Don't get me wrong. I will always take impact over money. It's just way more important to me.
Well, it's made more impactful on your life.
For sure.
And it's more concrete, and it's going to be there because now that's something that you could draw on because you have those it's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's something that's real, it's a relationship that you've heard from somebody.
And give the market what they want. Here's a perfect example. When I first started this, I hired all these people. I hired like a marketing person and a branding person, and we went through all these different strategies on, okay, who am I as a person? We broke everything down. What is really important to me? We broke all those things down. And then we were going to put out like a series. And it was basically, it was so rough. It was me in this boardroom, and I'm talking into a camera, and I'm telling you what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. This is what I did. This is like, it wasn't me at all.
Right.
And that was the engagement we got. We were getting terrible consumption on YouTube. And then one day I was really frustrated, and I was like, look, I'd been shooting for 8 hours straight. And I was like, look, you know what? Let's just hop in the car. I grabbed my camera guy, and I was like, I have to go drive these deals. How about you just film me in the car driving? I'll just talk about the neighborhood. I'll get out of the car, and you just film me literally looking at these deals. So I spoke into the camera what I would normally take notes about.
Okay.
And it became this thing. The next day, that video was uploaded. We had 38,000 views.
Wow.
And so they said, no more of this boardroom crap. From now on, you're just going to show you doing what you've been doing for years anyways. That was me being authentic. That was my authentic self. No one wants to see some rich dude in a boardroom telling you what to do.
No.
Like, I'll show you exactly how I did it, and I'll show you my thought process around the whole thing. I would literally call agents in real time. I was mic'd up, so our conversation was mic'd, and I walked them through how I'd negotiate a deal, how I'd try to get some stuff going on. And then I started to slowly integrate my life into my social media. It wasn't just like a really cool picture of me looking awesome with some quote next to it.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
That's just, I needed to be 100% me, or I have no business doing this.
That is so profound and simple at the same time.
It really is.
Yeah, I noticed over a certain period of time, over the last few months, I changed some things, and I was trying to, have all these different things within the weekly structure to put out there, and it just became not me.
Right.
And then I started finding creative blocks. When you're doing this stuff, you have to stay in a creative flow. That's where the feedback comes in, the positive feedback, and it really keeps you moving. And then when you're doing something that you think that the audience wants, so you're trying to give them that, you're missing the point again. Being authentic is what the audience wants. Like, we live in such a transparent Truman Show world with social media.
Totally.
And I mean, everywhere you look, everybody's got a phone and a ways and a means to create something like this. It's at your fingertips at all times. So
well, and there's so many people out there that are not living like their truth, and you can tell that's why their engagement is off. Like, people are getting wiser to the bullshit, and they can see somebody, they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, you will never hear me say, hey, you should definitely buy this house right here. It's going to be worth 9% more next year, and probably 12% from the second year, and then you could refi all your money, and it's gonna go up forever.
Right.
Because I'd be full of shit, because it's not true.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, there's always gonna be a good market. You have to decide for your family if now's a good time, or if it's a good time to wait 12 months and see what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
Or is this gonna be a 5-year or a 10-year play? You're fine.
Right.
If you're making a 2 to 3 year play, I'd maybe wait.
Right.
Like, you have to get the right information from the right expert. That's why it's really important to vet who you're getting your information from.
100%.
There's so many shysters out there, especially in real estate and the personal branding space. I'm sure most of your listeners have got some DM from somebody from some other country saying like, hey, do you want some more views and likes and all this other stuff? Like, it's a shyster world.
It is. I get them all the time.
Of course.
It's tough. And so what do you believe? Because, this is the world we live in. We got people coming at us our phones probably have a laundry list of different things from every platform. And so it's a distraction from what you're doing. So people that are out there, and then they've got all this stuff coming in, they get so overwhelmed and like, screw it, I don't want to do it anymore.
Right. And that's the same thing with everything in life.
Yeah.
Health. Okay. So now I'm going to drink a gallon of water every day. First 3 days, it's kind of tough. So you stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a podcast. You buy all the gear. I can't figure out Libsyn. I'm going to stop. Like, this will be a metaphor for a lot of things in your life if you just want to look backwards at it.
Right.
When you quit all the time, it's who you are.
Yeah.
It's fixable, but you have to be honest with yourself. All the freedom comes in the schedule. That's why being consistently disciplined and disciplined with your consistency is what keeps the freedom going. From 9 to 3 p.m., I am so wildly scheduled, it would freak out most people. Down to the 10-minute.
Yeah.
That's where all my freedom is. From 3 to 8, I'm not scheduled.
You're with your family.
I'm with my family. If I'm at jiu-jitsu with my kids, something comes up with my wife, like whatever. My business partners know if we're not losing millions of dollars, do not call me.
Right.
Call our attorneys. I'm the last person they call.
Yeah.
Unless I have to go fix it. But it's rare. But you create the world you want to live in. The boundaries that you set will dictate all the freedom you have. I got these things called my non-negotiables in the morning that are sacred to me. First thing I do, 10-minute meditation. I'm not going to like go to my meditation room and do 30 minutes every day. Like that didn't work for me. I tried. As soon as my brain clicks on, if it's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, or 3 in the morning, I go into a 10-minute meditation. I sit in gratitude for 5 minutes, then I work out. I eat something really clean. My kids are waking up between 5 and 6. I play with my kids for almost 2 hours every morning. I make them breakfast. That's our time together. Then I start thinking about work.
Yeah.
And then the nanny shows up and my wife wakes up and then I go out to go hunt. That's it. Every single day.
Right.
Except on the weekends, then it's just more time of
family time
in the morning.
Yeah.
This is something I promised my son when he was being born that I would be home at 3 o'clock every day. I had 19 properties in escrow. I was working 18-hour days at the time. I had no idea how I was going to do that.
Right.
I also wasn't going to go against my word that I just gave to my little boy.
Yeah.
So you have to get leverage on yourself. Like everybody's like, how do you do it? I didn't give myself an option.
And it's proper planning.
So
you talk about consistency and discipline and the combination of those consistent discipline, right? And the discipline of consistency. So it goes hand in hand, but all of that creates the plan. Like you have to have a plan that's executable to get out there and get it done. You know, whether it's your plan to build your business or to build your social media presence or to plan time with your family, like you said, your freedom is within that consistency and discipline, and I'd venture to say within the planning as well.
It's all planning.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You can be wildly selfish with your time. My wife knows when I'm going to jiu-jitsu at 8 a.m., I drop off my son at school, I'm at jiu-jitsu at 8, I'll roll for an hour and a half, sometimes longer. I'm not at the office until almost 11.
Yeah.
I have a 4-hour workday.
Yeah.
Guess what? Everybody knows. I have to have it. So I created that into my life. If I loved golf, which I do like to play golf, and if I had to play on Mondays, that would be my reality.
Right.
There's always going to be give and take. There's always going to be sacrifice. Where are you willing to sacrifice? Where people get into biggest just stuff and issues, especially like at home and relationships and business, they're not willing to sacrifice to have something else. They just want more. More is a disease. Like it's
say that again, because that was very profound. That whole sequence right there, that last few sentences.
Yeah. So so many people get wildly handcuffed into their process of they just want more. So they want to be able to sleep in. They want to be able to do this. They want to be able to work out. They want to be able to go to work when they want to and leave when they want to. And now they want to be on the softball team, so they're just going to add that. And now they can't go see their son or daughter play soccer or swimming because they wanted more. More is a massive disease. Now, you can have it all. You can do a bunch of stuff. There's sacrifice. I sacrifice sleep for my more. But do I really? No, I sacrifice my late night time. I used to go to bed at midnight, and I would wake up at like 6 or 7. Very, very common.
Yeah.
I have kids. That whole program is a wrap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a very hands-on dad and have been since they were born. Both my kids had reflux. I was up every hour and a half all night long for months. And then my wife and I literally decided to do shifts. So she would sleep until, I would sleep until 1 in the morning, and then we would switch. So we'd each get 6 to 7 hours of sleep. So I got very used to going to bed at 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night. So now I go to bed at 8 or 8:30, and I wake up at 3.
Yeah.
I have plenty of sleep still. And now I can get everything in I need to do between 3 a.m. and when all y'all are still sleeping. So whatever I need to do, and I plan my day and I schedule everything out because I like the more. But I'm not willing to sacrifice what I've committed to my family, to my business partners, to my clients, to my investors for my more.
Yeah.
My more is for me. You think my investors care if I go play golf?
No.
No. They don't.
But they
You think
won't.
they care if I have a podcast?
They will care if you're going to play golf and their investments are falling behind.
100%.
So that's where your discipline and your consistency with making sure the business is taken care of between the hours that you've defined, and you work your tail off to make sure that happens, and you got the teams in place because you figured all that stuff out. So I want to ask you this. So now I'm a guy that, maybe even, a little advice towards me here, because I'm just starting this podcast world, this personal brand, and trying to lead a movement of education around health and wellness. If I'm a person looking to create a business, or I've got this passion that's burning at me, I want to do something with it to create a brand, but I don't know how to go about it. You have a company that helps people that in this world. Talk about what that process was. Maybe a little advice for somebody that's just starting out. Maybe they've been an entrepreneur their entire life and worked for somebody, but they're tired of that and they're hitting their 40s and they want to take their passion to the next level.
Sure. And so again, this is going to go back to being wildly consistent with your discipline.
Okay.
And then how bad do you want it? Do you want it more than you want to watch football on Sunday? Do you want it more than you want to watch a certain show with your husband or wife at night? Mm-hmm. What are you willing to sacrifice? And be really honest with yourself. We all want it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants it. When we're kids, we all want to be a pro baseball player or like a ballerina or an astronaut. Are you willing to sacrifice what it takes to be an astronaut? There's like 7 of them. It's way harder to be an astronaut than it would be to be on any pro or Olympic team on Earth.
Yeah.
So like everybody's like, I'm going to be an astronaut. Really? So what are you willing to sacrifice? And be okay with it taking longer. Like give yourself enough runway. People will pour tons of money and tons of energy into a 12-month project. Yeah. And when it doesn't work, they're like, I suck, it didn't work. No, it's a great idea, and you're a phenomenal operator. You didn't give yourself enough time. It's one thing I struggle with constantly.
Yeah.
I did not have a website 3 years ago. I did not exist online. If you typed my name in, some dude came up from London. Like I did not exist.
Okay.
It's a battle I constantly go through because I want to be 10 years ahead of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Guess what's not going to happen? That.
Yeah.
Like I could only go as fast as our lunar cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I got really real with myself. It's like, and I was sitting there in Gary Vee's office as he's just laying it out to me. He's just like, look, man, you have a great message and I love what you're about. Put your head down for the next 2 to 4 years and give everything you have away for free.
I love when he talks about that. Like people just don't understand what that looks like because they're like, why would I give it away for free?
Because they're not going to do it anyways.
Talk about what that does for you.
Sure. For one, it makes you wildly great at your craft, which I was already good at. Mm-hmm. When you're telling your message and your story and what you believe in with everything in your body every day, it does something to you. It's so empowering. And for me, I don't have any patience. Mm-hmm. They don't exist. I have gear 1 and gear 6. I'm either thinking about it or I'm all in and I've burned every bridge.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part is I can't speed it up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help more people than I can help.
Right.
So the best advice I can give anybody from my own personal experience, you're going to have days where you want to quit. You're going to have days where you're like, why am I spending this money? No one even cares. Mm-hmm. And the people that do, I barely even like. Mm-hmm. So like you're going to have these conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
The more often you can have those conversations, and every time I have a bad day, it's usually followed by a DM where I'm in tears. I'm just like, why am I doing this? This is so insane. And then I'll get this huge DM from somebody who I changed their lives and they moved across country and now they don't have to work anymore because they bought some buildings and they were a cop. Mm-hmm. And they just listened to every podcast. They read my book. They've been following my message for 2 years. never commented, never liked anything. I have no idea who they are. And then I get this big old DM or this huge email, and I'm like, all right, keep going.
I love that, man. That's exactly where I'm at right now. It's like I feel the struggle. Like I see minimal views on what I've got going on out there, but I'm like, I believe in this message. I do see that people are watching it. I do get some feedback from there, but then it's that one thing, that one message that comes in just random. And like you said, it comes from somebody that you had no clue even existed. And they write this paragraph about how your message or something that you did changed them and helped them. And then you're like, oh, I'm all back in. Like, okay, now I gotta go harder. I gotta do it more. I want my voice to be amplified more. But then again, it's not our timing, Andy. Like you talked about timing and giving yourself more time. As far as that goes, I think that we just need to work consistently on being good people and following our purpose and putting good messages out there and leave the timing up to something greater. I believe in God. I believe in that, and it's His time.
Dude, I absolutely love that, and that's exactly where I was going to go with this next part. I'm a wildly spiritual person. I want it on my time.
Right.
I also know it's never on my time.
Never.
It's never going to be on my time, and it's like the thing where you see like a video on YouTube where like mom or dad is driving the car, and you have the baby or like the toddler that's in the back seat in their car seat with a steering wheel.
Right.
Like that's me. I can see out the windshield. I think I'm driving. I'm moving the steering wheel. I'm not really driving. I'm in the car.
Right.
But my little head, like I'm driving. So that's why I have to stay super present. You know how many people have sent me these messages and these emails that were suicidal, that like, and something that I said just like resonated with them, and then they sent me a DM and I replied, and it changed their whole trajectory on like how they can believe in people and other. Like, it says real estate expert in my title.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't say therapist.
Right.
But when you're constantly in your vulnerability and you're constantly in your truth, that's what connects you to people.
Right.
So if you're trying to build an audience, you're trying to build a brand or marketing, the more you're you, the more you will grow. The more you try to be like Gary V and you're not, you're going to be in a pickle.
Yeah.
Like I have no desire to be Gary V or Andy, nothing. I'm being me at the rate that works for me.
Right.
So, and that works for me. And in the beginning, I was trying because I didn't understand the game.
Yeah.
I didn't know what actually worked.
Yeah.
What actually worked was me being me.
So let's talk a little bit about what your media company does for entrepreneurs, and then maybe some way that people can find you to get some advice, whether it be in real estate or in this type of a setting.
Sure. So we do a lot for the media, like, space for the world.
Okay.
We're pretty darn expensive because it's very, very time consuming. And if you're just starting out, I highly suggest you figure this out. Like, don't hire somebody, because somebody can take advantage of you so quickly that if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get railroaded. And if you're super rich and you don't care, that's fine, because it's coming. But if you are just a regular, person and you have a message you want to get out there, start with the free stuff. Start with Instagram stories. Start with Facebook and Facebook Lives. Test your message on people that already like you, that already follow you, before you broadcast it out to the whole world. Because if you're not ready for people to think you're the biggest piece of shit on earth, then don't do it yet. Like, don't go out yet. Stay within your little sphere. I say the same thing with all these people in real estate. Like, you should be focusing on one zip code until your phone rings every day with people that want you to list their house. Or there's some buyer that wants to. There's no reason for you to market to the whole city. I market to whole cities because people know who I am. If I didn't, it would be a very different topic. So I'm really easy to find. If you just type my name into Google, Andy Dane, Dane Carter, Carter, I'll come up. I'm very active on Instagram. I reply to DMs. If you have questions about all this stuff that we talked about, I will 100% reply. If you go to my website, andydanecarter.com, you can download my books for free. We have the podcast there. I have links if you're a non-accredited investor or you're an actually accredited investor. We have forms you go through if you want to work with us, if you want to learn about real estate. I'm extremely easy to find, but I would stick with the free stuff. Free until you really figure out what direction you want to go. Because for like $5,000, you could really make a difference in like 90 days.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. And I love that advice, because everybody's always looking to, I don't have the tools, I can't figure it out. But this stuff is really easy. I mean, we talk about social media and Facebook and Instagram. Nobody knew how to work that stuff.
I didn't.
6-10 years ago, whatever that was.
I had a pager in high school.
Right.
Like I didn't know any of this technology stuff, and I'm a self-proclaimed not that good at it at all. Here's a hack for anybody: start a podcast. Podcast is the lowest hanging fruit. I think it has the most growth out of any platform there is right now. There's such an opportunity. And let's say that you sell real estate, or you sell a CBD product, or you sell water. Go to a business, whatever business is in your area, and say, hey, I have a local podcast. I would love to hear about why you picked this city for your restaurant. That's it. And you go there and you interview the owner, or you interview the manager. You don't talk about whatever field you're in.
Yeah.
And then you just start going into that restaurant. They'll know who you are. And then you start asking for referrals. Because they'll ask you, what do you do? This? I'm like, oh, no, I just do this for fun because I love podcasting and I love my message and I love my company. Here's what I actually do. I sell this product. Or like you're a trainer, or you're in fitness, or you sell water. Like it's a door opener.
Yeah.
By far, my greatest lead tool is my podcast. It's not even close.
And it's all free.
Isn't
that insane? Yeah. So if you're looking to put a message out there, there are so many tools. There's so much access and so much technology right at our fingertips. And some of it, you might spend a couple bucks here and there to get some things going. But at the end of the day, if you've got a message, you want to see it works, like you said, throw up a Facebook Live, throw up a Instagram Live, and see if an audience will catch on, and then see if you can get them to start engaging with you, and then see what that value is to them, and then you can kind of start seeing what that path looks like for yourself. But again, like I think the culmination of this entire story is that no matter what you're doing, no matter what sector of business or industry that you're in, whether it's a personal brand or real estate or whatever, it's not your time. It's not your timing on when it's going to succeed, how it's going to succeed, and all that stuff. All you have to do is look at what I like to do, and this is maybe coming up from my sports ranks of going through college and stuff like that. I look at other people and how they're doing it. How are they performing on the court? If there's a starter that I'm trying to get his position, what is he doing in the weight room? What is he doing behind the scenes to create the performance on the court? You need to look at those things. So you look at a guy like Andy, very successful real estate guy that also has shifted his business into social media and sharing a message that's above and beyond real estate. But what has it done? It's increased his real estate business because he's putting out this valuable information that's changing people's lives. And like you said, you don't have to have a conversation around real estate to make it work for you. Like we're talking about stuff here that if you strip down the word real estate, if you take away personal brand, if you take away a CBD or water, whatever it is that you're selling, you take all that away, we're talking about life.
That's it.
We're talking about life. You're talking about how you could show up for your family. Consistency and discipline. You show up how you work for work, whether you work for somebody or you got employees. Consistency and discipline. You talk about fitness and getting weight loss. Consistency and discipline. It's a common denominator in life.
100%.
100%. So Andy, I appreciate you, man. You've been, like I said, you've been a pillar in my life to be able to watch you do what you do, and me going into this world. I was an entrepreneur for the first 40 years of my life. Got struck with an evil disease and decided to take that and make that my purpose to change people's lives. And I've gotten myself on a pretty good track, and I'm helping to get other people on a pretty good track. But it's not just about that. And that's why I wanted to bring other people. This isn't like, yeah, I want to help people thrive in their health and wellness, but I want to help people thrive in life. And that's why I bring people on like you, because you help people thrive in life throughout all these different ideas. I mean, you talk about drinking a gallon of water a day. This guy, This guy doesn't just get success by being a hard businessman and a hard worker. It's because he takes care of his body. He takes care of his mind spiritually. He takes care of his heart with his family and all that stuff. Like, you have a pecking order of what you do to fulfill you before you even hit the workplace.
Business is business.
Yeah.
It's literally the last thing I think about.
Yeah. Life is life, and it's everything, and it's all around us. And then when you have these core values of consistency, discipline, putting a good message out there, being social in a social environment, and going and sharing your message, like, that's important stuff.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much for all of your kind words. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's been fun as hell for me to watch your journey, man. Because I remember when I first met you and you're like, how do I do this stuff? And then, like, dude, look at you now. I love it.
And I talked about how your team could help me, and you guys have given me some advice. But, I think one of the greatest blessings too is that you've kind of just been like, here's what we're doing, what we could do for you. But then you just kind of like gave me the leash and let it go a little bit more as a friend. And I don't have the resources to really pay your team the way what you guys are valued at and what you guys deserve. So just a little bit of advice and allowing me to go figure this stuff out on my own. I mean, like we said before, I built this studio with my brother-in-law here. We've got all these cameras on. We've figured out different softwares, but we figured it out.
Dude, the studio is sick. I go on a lot of podcasts. Like I was telling Gary, it's as good as it gets.
Thanks,
and like,
brother.
You would have never been able to do this if our team would have came in, bought all your gear, set it up, and we're like, good luck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like, here, we'll do it all for you. It's like when you're a kid, like at some point you're going to learn how to crawl. And then you're going to learn how to stand on the table. And then you're going to take a couple steps.
Yeah.
And then you're going to walk.
Yeah.
And then you're going to run. And then you're going to be jumping off the couch.
Yeah.
Like, if you take away all those beginning steps, you're going to be a mess. So for me, it's like, you got to do the work.
You got to do the work. It's all in the work. So anyway, thank you, brother. I hope that what you guys just were partaked in and witness is something that you could take into your life. I built this podcast, HPTV, to help people thrive. And my mission is to really help people get their nutrition and their fitness and their health in order. But I think that having conversations with guys like Andy and removing the fitness and the health part of it, this stuff correlates directly to that. Because if you're not happy in life, there's no way that you're going to find time to put the right fuel in your body, to go work out and all that stuff, because you're miserable and you're trying to figure out how you can find happiness. So find that happiness in your consistency with your game plan with your family, through your consistency with your game plan in your business and all that stuff. And that happiness will fuel so much more.
Dude, 100%. All my happiness comes from my health and fitness.
Yeah.
Like, it comes from creating that space.
Yeah.
I'm a nightmare when I don't work out.
Right.
Just nightmare.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, we could probably keep going all day, and maybe we'll 100%. Have you back. I'll come to your studio and we'll do a session there. But, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. So thank you for being here. This is another episode of HPTV where we help people thrive, and we hope that you come back for another episode next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.